All right, waiting for it to go live. Waiting, blah, blah, waiting for it to go live on both. There we go. Okay, so we're live on both. I'm doing it on YouTube and on Facebook, guys. So, and so this is day 6 of 60 of Toxic Truths. So again, I'm Andy Kennedy. If you've missed the previous ones, go back and take a look. I'm tongue-tied because I don't usually do stuff like this after like 2 o'clock. My brain starts to get a little slower. It's a rainy day here on Shambhala. I had a travel day yesterday. And to be honest with you, I was hesitating. I was procrastinating on this one today because this is a really big topic. And this is so far the first one that I've actually made some notes for because I want to make sure that I get my point across. Number one is that I'm no scientist. I'm not a medical professional. I'm going to give you that disclaimer right now. This is my story. And what this 60 day is for me is my story. This is, from the beginning, for me, as I said in day 1, I started this journey of health for me and for being aware of toxins and the toxins on our planet through multiple different channels. First of all, I don't think say this in the first video, that I did an internship out in Oregon on a sustainable farm and education center. And that has been the inspiration for what we're doing here on Shambhala. I was vegetarian before that, but that community was primarily vegetarian. Some people ate meat, but if they did, it wasn't in the community kitchen, and it wasn't prepared for the whole community. So I've had a lot of experiences around adding meat in and cutting out meat. And so I want to actually start there. I want to talk about my journey and my history. So the first day I mentioned that I read a book called Fit for Life. And in that book, one of the things that I learned about meat was that it really drastically slows down the digestive system. It takes 48 hours to digest red meat. Okay. So that showed me if I'm going to do that, I need to be very clean about the meat. I need to be very clean about what else I put in my body during that period of time. And I need to be focused on maybe flushing that out and not doing that every single day. Because if we all know this with our heart and health and chronic disease and inflammation, if you do something that's going to slow down or maybe add toxins to your system, you don't want to do it every single day. I talked about a couple of days ago, the 80-20 rule, right? And maybe if you're going to do, cheat, whatever your cheat is, if it's gluten or dairy or sugar or caffeine, that maybe you don't do that every single day and you focus on that 80-20 rule, right? So that's for me. I have had this up and down, in and out relationship with meat. So that's why I hesitated. I'm not here to preach cut out meat for the rest of your life, even though as a belief system, I do believe that. I do believe that you're better off if you don't eat meat, because my favorite analogy or my favorite guru, let's just go there, on the topic is Dan Millman, who wrote The Way of the Peaceful Warrior, which I read in, 2009, maybe somewhere in there. It came out a long time before that. I don't think I read it before that. I might have read it when I read the Celestine Prophecy in the 90s, but I don't think so. And he says that eating dead matter makes dead matter. We know that we make cells and our good, healthy cells with phytonutrients, with plants. Okay, so we don't make healthy cells with or cells, right? With animal proteins. It does other things in our body, and whether your belief system is that that's a good or a bad thing, I'm not here to argue. I'm just here to tell my story and offer some toxic truths. Okay, so I now live in this community here in Tennessee where a lot of people are doing animal husbandry and growing their own meat. And I believe that that's super healthy. If we could all do that and we could all step away from the processed meats, the processed food system, big ag food system, meat farms, which we know from a lot of documentaries are not healthy, are not good for the planet, are not good for greenhouse gases, right? Then it would be a better planet. So that's what I advocate for. I advocate for trusting your body and listening to your body. And there's a whole science out there around eating right for your blood type. And I don't subscribe to that on a regular basis. I believe that it's true. I believe that we should all eat right for our blood type. And I'm getting back into learning a little bit more about that this year, but I don't eat that way. And if you're interested in that, I definitely recommend that you read that book, Eating Right for Your Blood Type. But I've been vegan. I've been vegetarian. I've been pescatarian, which is food, just fish. And I've been an omnivore. And that has been the truth of my journey since 1989. So I know that when I cut out meat, my intuition is stronger, my body smell changes, my energy levels change. So I try not to eat meat. I try not to eat meat at restaurants. I try to eat organic when I do eat meat, and I try and eat local or like the neighbors. So we bought meat chickens from one of our neighbors recently, and you can tell it tastes different. You can tell it feels different in your body. But I also, if this topic is new to you, that meat might be a toxin, then I suggest you go down the rabbit hole. And there in 2008, there have been documentaries on this before this, but the one that I just looked up was Food Inc. That's the first one that I watched in 2008. Then I watched Forks Over Knives in 2011. Then there's Fed Up 2014. Cowspiracy, I think, also came out in 2014. 2017, What the Health came out. That was amazing. 2018, Game Changers, and that's all about vegan athletes. That one I would say start with Food Inc. and Game Changers. So if you're not part of our Facebook group, you can go and join that. The link is here below. That I'm going to post here in the next hour or so a whole list of some of those and talk about that truth there, because I think that that's extremely important to educate yourself and make your own decisions on meat. But we do know that processed meat has full of nitrates, full of chemicals. Don't go there if you can. And that's the meat that you buy in the deli. And if you do buy that kind of meat, buy the freshest, most organic meat in the deli that you can buy. Get it locally if you can. Get it from someone that what they fed the animals. Of course, that's important. That how that animal was processed is humane, because the energy when the animal dies is important, and because that goes into your body as well. So if it's hunted, very important as well. That's a belief of mine that if we had to survive and we had to eat meat, that it should be hunted meat, and that animal should be processed humanely. But a lot of science leads to the fact that this is a toxic system, that it leads to chronic disease, it leads to inflammation, it leads to heart disease, eating meat and eating a lot of meat, which our society in the US eats a lot of meat. So my challenge to you, this 60-day challenge is not for you. It's for me, of going live and talking about all of these truths and living in my truth. But my challenge to you on the topic of meat is to go to cut out meat for 2 weeks, because I do that with my students in my Manifesting with Synchronicity class. I say, eat vegan, not just vegetarian, cut out dairy as well. So that's the difference between vegan and vegetarian. Well, there are a few others. Some vegetarians eat eggs. Some vegans don't eat honey, right? So there's some gray areas in between those, but try eating vegan or at least vegetarian for 2 weeks and see how you feel. See how your sleep improves if it does. Say your elimination improves if it does. See how your energy levels improve if they do. Your brain fog, all of that stuff, right? So paying attention to your body is super important. And so that's why I hesitated a little bit and leaned back and took some notes on this today, because in all truth, I have gone through the rabbit hole on this one. I have eaten meat and not eaten meat. I have eaten fish and not eaten fish. We're going to talk about heavy metals and mercury on a completely different topic. But I don't think I finished my list of documentaries. So Game Changers, Eating to Ourselves to Extinction came out in 2021. Seaspiracy came out in 2021. And then there's another one called Poisoned with a whole long title that came out in 2023. So I've seen people pop in and pop out of this live, right? I believe that probably people are thinking, I don't want to cut out meat. I like meat. It does good for my body. It builds muscles. Start with Game Changers. Game Changers talks about all of those vegan athletes, and I'm talking from bodybuilders to NFL players, who have cut out meat and how it completely changes their physical system and their reproductive system. So we're talking about men and their reproductive system in this movie mostly. So anyway, that is the bell for me to wrap it up. I don't want these to be longer than like 8 minutes. And this one went 9.5. So thank you for watching. Tune back in. This is every single day is a different topic for the next 60 days. They're all compiled into the Facebook group. So check it out there. But this is my story, my journey. And the one with meat has been interesting for me. So I'm sure it's been interesting for you too, if you're paying attention to your health. Would love your comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.